Greetings, viewers of the daily space weather videos. I'm your host Dan, aka smAsho. Right now we're looking at the sun. Yeah, that local yellow dwarf. We're looking at a 48-hour video from the SDO, the Solar Dynamics Observatory, to see 3 different sunspot groups in the past 2 days. And welcome to the Neo-Renaissance. By the way, we're going to be looking more closely at that little situation going on down there. First, we're going to take a look at the view from Stereo A, where we see a giant Borg sphere moving into view, sealing your doom. And you can see it right below my pointer there. And let me just take one moment to make sure the stream is live, because again, we are streaming live on Twitch. And we just want to make sure that everything is copacetic. Anyway, it's not really a Borg sphere sealing our doom, it's actually Mercury. Here's a 1700 angstroms 48-hour video of the sun to show that sunspot 2767 was by far the largest, and we still do see penumbra as it moves into its setting mode. And we've also seen some coronal mass ejections and some people shockingly confused about heliophysics. We'll get to it. So here's what's going on now. This is the 1-day video, and you can see the time date stamps down there in the bottom right. Again, let me just check on the life of the stream, and everything looks like it's good to go. So there you can sort of see what's going on now, and keep in mind the Earth is not in that location. The Earth is actually behind the instrument, and there's actually 2 instruments, the SOHO and the SDO, to create this composite image. And let's see what was happening on the 30th. So here's the coronal mass ejection that all kinds of YouTube channels are getting tens and probably hundreds of thousands of views about, as they're looking at close-up images of the sun and not having any idea what's going on with it, and putting up videos about, oh my god, it must be a spacecraft. And I think we've accidentally captured a comet also. You can see right on this path right here. Pretty interesting. And it does indeed look like some sort of an object there. But in any case, the reason that we're covering it is because of the coronal mass ejection. So there is a spot in this area on the southeastern limb of the sun, and it spawned a whole bunch of silly videos. People think it's a giant squid swimming out of the sun, or perhaps some sort of a spacecraft. And if I was covering it up, there you go. Give you a better image of that. And let's move on, as there's plenty of real stuff to cover, like the 10.7 centimeter radio flux. And for you new viewers out there, the radio flux is a proxy for sunspot number. Now, this feature of solar output was discovered in 1947 by Canadian radio operators who noticed that when the sun was up in the daytime, it emitted radio frequency, and that's how they started following it. It's a good proxy for sunspot number when you are unable to see the sun, because back then in 1947 there were no satellites, nothing like the SOHO or SDO. So there's the radio flux back into February of 2014, when it was at 170, currently at 72. So you'll see this nearly triple, most likely in the next couple of years rather. KP index, a measure of global geomagnetism, has been at 1 for the past 21 hours. We did see a little bit of X-ray flaring a minor B-class flare happened here. I'm not even sure what part of the sun that came out of. My best guess would be sunspot 2767, the one that's in a setting mode now. And when electrons make a sharp turn, you tend to see solar flaring. We don't see any big proton events, although we are currently seeing a small uptick in protons. So there is a little bit of geoactivity going on, and we'll get to that very soon. And here we are. So we just saw the, let's see, the BT-BZ wildly shifted here. We saw the BT get, which is this black line at the top pane, get all the way up to 10, and that's in nanotesla. And the BZ was, again, quite shifty. Current value is BT8, BZ3, phi angle 140 degrees, and we see a spate of earthquakes, by the way. We see a little uptick in the solar wind density here, 17 protons per cubic centimeter, and an uptick in the solar wind speed. It looks like a coronal mass ejection, actually. And don't get too freaked out about it, folks, because it's not particularly geo-effective so far. And I'm going to turn down Bach's toccata and fugue in D minor just a little bit here to allow me to not have to yell over it. I don't want my voice to be shattered today. So anyway, looks a little like a coronal mass ejection strike, folks. We see the wind speed and wind density coming up at the same time here. Currently around 373 kilometers a second for the speed. Density 17 protons per cubic centimeter. This will raise the risk of earthquakes over the next 24 hours. So even though we see some big ones, be prepared for even bigger ones as we see a drought of large earthquakes over the past couple of years. Here's 4 hours of data on the magnetosphere, and today we're going to actually show you density as well as pressure. First, here's the pressure. And right there you see that increase in the density and speed at the same time. You can see some cone-shaped projections there in the North Pole region on the moon midnight meridional plane. Here's the density. And when you see it pressed back like this, that indicates a very dense solar wind. Keep in mind the density, and let's let that play through as it's refreshed. The density on this high density shows up as dark blue. Low density shows up as white on this scale. And you can see it going only from 0 to 4 protons per cubic centimeter. So anyway, next we're going to look at ground geomagnetic perturbations, and we probably are seeing some auroras sparked by this. We could even get into geomagnetic unrest, as it was an unexpected burst. So here are the aurora forecasts. We don't always play toccata and fugue in D minor, but sometimes it's a Sunday edition. It's coming on late, and it's perfect on a rainy day in eastern Pennsylvania. Anyway, no big auroras apparently being sparked yet. Maybe we'll take a look at null school. Next we're looking at ground magnetic perturbations. And we should see this kick up a little bit at the end here. Let's let it play through. And you can see some induction-induced spikes here around 8:30 Universal Time, although not a lot otherwise, and some anomalous spikes there. So check it out. We see some anomalous spikes here. We see geomagnetic perturbations coming out of the central Indian Ocean. And let's move on to some more stuff, like the daily Smash Lights section, where we talk about whatever we want. And there's lots of stuff to talk about, so let's move it on. Captain, sensors indicate censorship, fraud, political bias, and spyware emanating from the specter of big tech. Yes, a bunch of giant zombie companies have billions of dollars in lawyers, and they're trying to prevent you from being able to say what you want on the internet. Were you aware? Well, what a mess. We're going to talk more about that later. First, let's talk about the way volcanoes and not meteorites appear to have caused the planet to have cooled in the past. Was it because carbon dioxide was decreased? Well, absolutely not. Global cooling was caused by volcanic eruptions. And by the way, volcanoes produce carbon. They don't suck carbon out of the atmosphere. So we love this article here on SciTech Daily. SciTechDaily.com, one of my favorites. And we're going to talk more about eating volcanoes. We'll encourage you to eat a volcano later. Have you heard about the stories about the plume of water vapor on Mars? And how it totally either is or isn't a volcano. Anyway, what's happened here is you've entered into a dimension not only of sight and sound, but of mind. These are the voyages of the smash ship smAsho. And one of the places we've put up content is smAshomash.com/forum. If you haven't scoped it out yet, well, have yourself a look. Don't burn up in the atmosphere. There are forums about cosmology, Earth and geophysics, general science, the sun, and a free-for-all. And for new users, go ahead, put up a post, talk about coffee, talk about Hydrox cookies, talk about solar events. By the way, we are streaming live to Twitch. Shout out to our latest viewer over there. We're also on Facebook, and you may have noticed some problems with Facebook, as there could be just a tad of censorship over there. Check us out, facebook.com/smAshomash. And also facebook.com/groups/entropybusters is a spot where we post content, some of it exclusive, some of it the same as every place else. Now, I'm not a huge fan of Facebook. You may have noticed in the winter of 2018, there were some, let's just say, issues that developed, prompting me to do things like write a song called The 12 Days of Censorship. Let's talk about Alphabet. Do you follow me on Instagram? Well, if not, you may not know that Alphabet misleads its shareholders. Yes, that's right. Alphabet, parent company of Google, misleads its shareholders. People seeking information, it misleads itself on the efficacy and the role of big tech. Lying to shareholders is a crime. And if Alphabet isn't culpable, then nobody has ever been culpable for misleading shareholders. These entities have zero concern for human health and are more interested in politics than writing good code. Do you own Alphabet stock? Do you invest in companies so they can break the internet? Google owns about 60% of servers worldwide. I hope they enjoy preventing another Trump situation, because that's as effective and ethical as Hillary Clinton as president. Also, shout out to Dr. Fauci. And we've ordered a bunch of different strap-on dildos with our branding on them. Thanks to you, Dr. Fauci, for your great work. Thanks to our patrons, the real source of funding for the content. As we greatly appreciate your support, please consider becoming a patron if you haven't. And we've got 9 subscription levels for your convenience. And again, we thank you for being associate, executive, etc. producers of the content. Thanks for being condensed matter patrons. Credit crawl coming. Thanks for helping to keep us ungoogleable. Since, well, who needs the government to censor you? Now, I used to be, quote, left-wing because I opposed government censorship in the late 1980s and early 1990s. Now I guess I'm right-wing because I still oppose censorship, whether it's from big tech or from government. Who needs the government? Mark will do it for free. By the way, big tech, you can't break the internet. But the internet can break you. Let's talk about our mission. You can read this to your friends and foes at smAshomash.com/forum/mission. It's to assist, study, and report the ongoing formation of a unified theory of physics, to raise the awareness of the general public of the relationship between space weather and Earth effects. It's real, folks. Space weather causes earthquakes, deal with it. Also to connect and consult with media organizations to multiply our reach, hence us making these videos every day. and wondering why nobody watches them. 4, to demonstrate cutting-edge proof of concept solutions to problems. To publish scientific papers in a multidisciplinary fashion, including but not limited to the sciences scrolling before your very eyes. To assist mankind is another mission by advancing the study of predictive phenomenon, like, solar flares, coronal mass ejections, etc., to optimize value and reduce risk and liability and save lives and resources and adapt, no matter what the adversity is. And lastly, to not be ossified in our beliefs and to treat those who are with love, respect, and inclusion to this scientific discussion, no matter how dumb they are, as there are no dumb questions, but there are dumb people. So here's the deal, folks. Ignorance is the root of all knowledge. Help us to perpetuate knowledge and eradicate ignorance, however you may see fit. We do put exclusive content up on BitChute as we demonstrated yesterday. Here's a clip from yesterday's 200 subscriber spectacularly stupendous special. The old version of "that is an ass and that is a hole in the ground." Oh my God, I've said swear words. Don't worry, folks, an ass is a pack animal. By the way, if you haven't pressed like and subscribe on YouTube, please do it. Do it now. No, that's okay. We'll wait. Go press like and subscribe, or the video will not go on. We're on pause. Yeah, I'm talking about you. Oh, you don't want to interface with the Google junkware? Well, go and press like, press the notification bell. We'll wait. Waiting. Press like and subscribe. Do I gotta wait for you to type a comment? Fine. We'll wait for you to type a comment. You got 5 seconds. Thank you. Were you aware that, well, the thing is that, yeah, it's a sort of a, yeah. smAsho.org. You may find links. You may think the site stinks. Don't be surprised to see changes soon. All the links to our social media are right there underneath that arrow. It's a harrowing experience at smAsho.com/forum, where a Hydrox doctor is front like Africa, and we're killing our citizens by not giving them Hydrox. Thanks be stoic. Again, go have a read at smAsho.com/forum. There's also a 31-page section about COVID-19/coronavirus. And that brings me to a point. Could you please, if you're an American, would you please, Mansa, just Mansa, make America not suck again. It's not that hard. You don't have to be a propagandist or a grandstanding bitch. You could just make America not suck again. It's up to you. Please participate in Mansa. Or, if you're not in America, perhaps you want to see America destroyed. By the way, I'm hearing thunder. It's time for lightningmaps.org. But if you want to hear America destroyed, well, maybe you're interested in Mensa-ing. Maybe you think that getting rid of America would be a benefit to the rest of the world. Fine. Then Mensa. Make Earth not suck again. It's up to you. Seriously, don't try to destroy the U.S. It's a bad idea. By the way, order the shirts. And we'll talk more about that in a minute. Let's talk about the journalistic malpractice. Now, on July 5th, after experiencing a 90% decrease in something or other. Anyway, journalists are trying to frighten you with information about the COVID, because the COVID is very, very spooky. In fact, the COVID is so spooky and scary that it's actually kind of making me mad. So let me just show you what happens here when I get angry. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry, because what happens is the flames turn blue, and you never know when I may start destroying things. So, media agencies are on the chopping block right now. Look at the headlines that happened on July 5th. After COVID deaths dropped from 2,748 deaths per day to 263 deaths per day. Oh my God, more COVID peak. Florida infected rise by record number cases once lauded. Texas now grapples. Hospitals in at least 2 counties. Oh my God, 2 of 6,000 counties across the U.S. have reached capacity. Oh my God, Phoenix sick. More rules in Miami. Governors stress, quote, personal responsibility, end quote, except have none themselves. Virus floats in air as aerosol. Your dogs and cats can get it. I guess they failed to cover that, since there's no way you can possibly stop a virus with the communicability of the COVID-19. And on and on and on it goes. By the way, in Europe, they are doing World Cup bicycle racing right now, and guess how many masks they're wearing? 0. Let's talk about beer and wine and spirit consumption in the U.S. Ouch! Check out the uptick. I wonder why that is. Because people are at home and they're getting drunk and they're committing suicide and domestic abuse and all kinds of other child abuse and terrible things. So the unintended consequences of the lockdowns are horrendous. We're not even going to talk about masks today, although I may have to make some custom ones that say Tom Wolfe and Rachel Levine are COVIDiots. Maybe have photographs of those 2 officials, Pennsylvania's top COVIDiots. More people on the taxpayer dole who don't know how to do their own job. Anyway, one of the unintended consequences is obese people dying in droves, since they're twice as likely to die from COVID. And they're going to get more obese because of drinking and sitting around and not doing exercise or bike races. Let's talk about affiliates. smAsho.com/affiliate. Please affiliate with us and purchase products such as the pulse oximeter and the L-lysine. And the latest one we've put up is the MSM, yes. So the 1,000 milligram MSM gel caps are a great choice. And by the way, you can take the MSM out of the gel caps and use the gel caps for other stuff, such as cayenne pepper tablets, and we'll explain that at a later time. But in any case, check out the MSM, methyl sulfonyl-methane. So it's used by thoroughbred racehorses to lower inflammation in them, and it can lower inflammation in you also, perhaps. And we're pumping the Now brand. So again, this is 240 capsules in 1,000 milligrams, and this stuff is part of the sulfur cycle. It's largely misunderstood by science, or not understood at all. And here's part of where it comes from. It's carbonyl sulfide. So when we talk about eating volcanoes, the MSM is part of your volcanic consumption. And it's an important antioxidant that can just sort of zap free radicals out of your system and reduce your systemic requirement to do so. So anyway, carbonyl sulfide comes out of volcanoes. It rains down in rainwater after a series of chemical reactions that happen in the atmosphere. When volcanoes erupt, they produce various different non-greenhouse gases. In other words, gases that make the planet colder by causing additional cloud nucleation. Carbonyl sulfide is one of these. So, for instance, the volcanic ash that comes out of a volcano causes clouds to form because the water vapor will condense on those particles. Carbonyl sulfide is another one of those cloud nucleation molecules. And then chemical reactions happen, and it rains down, and then it's in living cells, and then it evaporates out of living cells, and it's part of what we call the sulfur cycle. So one of the ways to benefit from the sulfur cycle is to consume MSM supplements, and the worse your diet is, the less MSM you'll be likely to have. So we're only putting up health-based items here at smAshomash.com/affiliate. And that's because of the COVID crisis, and because we're interested in people's respiratory health, not nonsense about masks and lockdowns. We're concerned about herd immunity, real science, And yeah, hydroxychloroquine is, well, you get the idea. By the way, check us out at bitshoot.com/smashamash for exclusive videos. Now, we've also created a Teespring account. And as our regular viewers are well aware, I've been modeling the Smasher Price My First Pandemic shirt, which is an essay about the infantile, pathetic, and ineffective response by mankind to, create things like global mask mandates. We've also printed it on tights. You can even get them in gold or purple. If you want your butt to look as big as possible, go with the gold because that's the lightest color. Black is slimming, and yellow makes you look stacked. So there's what's going on with that. We've also released 3 new designs since then, including I've Survived a Global Pandemic So Far, and Mansa, Make America Not Suck Again, and Mensa, Make Earth Not Suck Again. And that's part of the reason why we have the test patterns that we have, folks. So again, check those out. Links are all below the video here to the Smash store. And we'll actually have additional storefronts in the future. This is kind of just dipping our tippy toe into it. If you have any particular requests for the Smash store, let us know what those are, and we will consider making a custom design for you. And to all of our regular and indeed irregular viewers, if you need to reach us for whatever reason at a moment's notice, as if we're Minutemen, and some of us are indeed, reach us at the smAsho VoIP line. It's country code 1. That's country code +1, area code 610-936-9799. That's country code 1, area code 610-936-9799. And thanks for tuning in to another Sunday edition of the Smash Lights, where I vanish and then basically do whatever I want, and then basically talk about whatever I want, and then just reappear like this. Let's get back to data. It's the GOES magnetometer. And we're going to continue to see big spikes in this. As I was wrong yesterday. It doesn't happen often. So update your live journal if you haven't seen me wrong in the past. You may not catch too many of those whoops I was wrong moments. Here's the GOES magnetometer, and it's we're still possibly in the North Pole current sheet, shown here in green. And I did forecast yesterday that we would be in the South Pole current sheet by now as a result of that rising sunspot. This could snap across at any moment. Keep in mind the magnetic environment can suddenly change also. The data is 1 hour and 45 minutes old. I expect us to be in the South Pole current sheet in the next 6 hours. And you can see some big changes happening in this portion of the sun regardless. And what we're looking at here are the potential field force lines from 51 ground-based magnetometers, as well as stereo A and stereo B's magnetometer inputs. Looking at the line of sight field plot, you can see the B field shown in blue, which is the one you'd live on. Has seen some big changes here, but it's returned to a fairly symmetrical state. Next, looking at electron flux to see that it's pretty moderate. It's actually low to moderate here. And we see an upward trend here over the past couple of weeks, which is nice, as seeing flatlined electron flux like this is a little creepy. Here's a 3-day electron flux measured by the GOES 16. Nothing too eventful there. And we do not expect to see warning levels today. In fact, we expect to see this cratered because of this increased solar wind density and speed. Next, looking at the total air column to check sort of the electron content. Nothing too anomalous happening there. Fairly normal. And we expect fairly low levels of electron flux. Here's just one layer of the atmosphere. It's the ionosphere. Also looking pretty normal, but I would say there's an increased risk of earthquakes for the next 24 hours, at least, depending on how long the input from the sun lasts. And it's not going to last long. In about 6 hours, that coronal mass ejection input should subside. So here's the latest image. This is at 9:30 UT. Fairly normal there, a little charge in the northern hemisphere, and hey, it's summer up there. Here's where stuff is in the solar system. Here's where things are in a week, God willing. Here's what's going on above my head. Let me just hit refresh. As it is now 5:39 in Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania. If you're up before dawn, you should see Venus, if you've got clear skies, possibly even Mercury rising before the sun, and Mars high on the ecliptic. Next, the earthquake rundown includes some large quakes here. We saw some 6+ magnitude quakes. Let's go up the list. Starting with this deep quake at Indonesia. It's a 6.4 magnitude at 15:01 universal time and 100 kilometers depth approximately. Followed 2 hours and 8 minutes later by this 6.4 at the Philippines. A 5.7 at Papua New Guinea, a 6.0 at Papua New Guinea. So there's a foreshock and a second major quake in the same region. Followed by a 5.6 at Tonga. So that's a sudden succession there. Bang, bang, bang. We see a quake at Venezuela there. The northern lip of South America there, where it connects with the Caribbean plate. Followed by a deep quake at Argentina. That one about an hour and 15 later. Here's a deep quake in Alaska. Another 5.7 in Vanuatu. So major uptick in earthquakes here, folks. And I'm not so sure it's over yet. We could be getting ready for the big one. And by the way, Western South America, Cascadia, and Oceania. Be prepared for a large quake because we've got another input of solar protons here. Those are the areas to watch. Have an earthquake plan. Try to be an asset, not a liability, in the moment of a disaster. Know which building facades may fall. Next, looking at volcano discovery. Abiko on the list, flight level 100 there. That's 10,000 feet of altitude. Nishinoshima exploding still. Uptick there at Nishinoshima over the past couple of days. 16,000 foot plume there. Suwanuse-jima, 7,000 foot ash plume there. Langlia, never heard of it. Flight level 8,000 there, as it has now entered the list and it's exploding. Popocatépetl down there in central Mexico, not too far from Mexico City, exploding. Flight level 200. Fuego exploding. Flight level 140. Sabancaya exploding. Flight level 250. Please do not attempt to pole vault the caldera. Hurricane Isias has been downgraded to tropical storm, and while I didn't forecast this yesterday, as I was not looking at it in depth, I did note the fact that it was surrounded by dry air, which is a tendency to weaken tropical streams. So although we did see jet stream level inputs, they were not sufficient to induce a clockwise jet stream level rotation. So Isias has been downgraded. That doesn't change the fact that there's going to be flooding in Florida. So here's the weather.gov map of not Florida. And there's the current weather.gov map, and you can see major coastal flooding there, as well as up the East Coast. Next, we're going to take a look at windy.com's pressure maps. We'll let it advance into tomorrow. This is the GFS forecast. And windy.com's got a great mobile app if you weren't aware. Perhaps consider downloading it free to your smart device. We've got the smAsho VoIP line as well as windy.com on certain apps. There's where we think things will be according to the GFS forecast at 1 p.m. tomorrow. Next, looking at nullschool.net to check out the jet streams as my voice is shattered. And we see some oddities up here. A series of powerful counterclockwise rotating systems there associated with the jet stream. And let's just move on as there's a little too much data today. Here is the Western world's jet streams. Extreme meridional jet stream flow over the central Atlantic. And again, we're hearing thunder. We're going to do a real-time lightning evaluation here while we make the video for once. So for once, we're actually streaming live and hearing thunder. Here are the water vapor maps for Africa and Europe. And we're not going to change the slide order for this, as our regular viewers may rely on the data. Here is the, at 4:20, data for the Far East and Oceania. And thanks, Smash Team. Don't tune out. There's more bonus features. Here is the water vapor map for the Americas. And let's zoom out a little bit so we can see the southern tip of South America. We use the water vapor map, folks, because water vapor not condensed onto clouds can't hide from the water vapor satellite. So it's very different from the visible, and it gives you insight you would not otherwise have. U.S. Doppler radar map, there you go. And we've got some heavy storms on their way. Let's see what we can see. How did I lose lightning maps? Let's bring it back. And here's a real-time demonstration of the lightning maps. We'll see if we hear some thunder, or if we can forecast some. And again, I am located in Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania. So we hear some thunder here, but we don't really see it close enough to register where I'm located. Everything right now is located out north of Reading, in between Hamburg and Reading, west of Kutztown. And let's continue on here, as we don't have all day. So here is the shortwave satellite animation. We're going to show you a close-up of the area around southern Florida. And you can see there's two systems here, and I believe that dry air is still going to be in place, which is going to kind of hold it up and weaken it at the same time, which is good news for Floridians. We're hoping that your flood warnings are downgraded. Here is the same area in water vapor. Again, we are streaming live. Bear with me a minute. And if you see these parallel line streamers here, that's an indication of pressure gradient. And this dry air is causing a buttress sort of an effect. And it looks like it's going to weaken and weaken, and for that, we thank you. We've got some more features here. Thanks for tuning in. Remember, sharing your social media. Thanks for flying, American Smashways. Please keep your head and arms inside the smash plane at all times. Here's one last feature. Actually, one of three. Here's the intensity gram, sunspot 2767. And you can see some penumbra. Next, sunspot 2768 and 2769. 2768 has decayed to plage, folks. I see no more sunspot there. What say you? 2769, I see some ombre there and some ombre there. Let's check the fields. I think that's a beta class sunspot, so that'll increase the probability of X-ray flares, assuming this does not degrade. You've got North Pole out here and South Pole out here. And I hear thunder once again. Let's break out the final little bit of the video before my power goes out and we shatter the stream. Here's a 94 angstroms view. Let me just make sure the stream is live yet, and we are good to go. Remember, stare at the sun, don't drink, and if you do, don't drive, no matter how much the government makes you want to drink. Don't do it, unless you want to do it on your own. Welcome to the Neo-Renaissance. Visit the links below the video, and please support the channel, since YouTube strives to pay us nothing. And since it'll never be now again, may that solar wind be at your back. That lightning forecasted at lightningmaps.org. And that covidiously absent from your location.